All right, why don't we go ahead and get started? I have a note from Eric that he's not going to be able to make it and will add updates to the infrastructure bullets to Slack. I know it was his intent. I haven't actually looked to see if it happened to create a Ether Packer repository where he will put the jobs that create VMs. I don't see it there yet, though. Okay. Let me just do an audio check. You can hear me?
Yes.
Great,
Yeah,
thanks.
we hear you.
Is there anything else in infrastructure? Like I said, there'll be an update hopefully on Slack in a little while or later today. I'll just make note of the one thing I do know. Okay. SD Core. I see you've added some items, Gabriel.
Yes, sorry, Larry, one question about the AWS images. Are those Ubuntu 22 images still, or are you planning to do something related to Ubuntu 24?
24 is his first priority. So it will replace 22 and a new 24.
Okay. And the objective is to still kind of support Ubuntu 24 and Ubuntu 22, or?
The intent is to support both. We haven't fully tested on 24 yet, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, since you asked, I'll go ahead and make note of that. Okay, core.
Okay, so we have new Helm charts for a 5G core. These Helm charts include the removal of the cert manager, as we kind of discussed last week, and it also includes a few potential issues that were found and reported by the Penn State team, and also some other issues that we have found in the project that we're working on, and also some I think one or two also issues found by the iOS team as well. Those are gonna include new images. So I'm kind of trying to finalize some kind of like changes on, or not changes, finalizing to run some tests in on-ramp before I actually start making the all opening PRs in on-ramp to kind of move to this newer Helm chart version for the 5GC.
Okay, good.
Then, yeah, that's on that side. Sorry. The other part is there is one dependable open one PR to move this X crypto dependency version from 0.33 to 0.35. But this PR failed failing a few things, failing the linter and building and some other things. So when I was kind of going deeper into understanding what the issue is, so the new version of this crypto dependency basically requires for the module to have not just the major and minor version, but also to have the patch version. So meaning that all our modules now have a Go 1.23, but it requires to have Go 1.23 that whatever patch we want to use. Let's say if we use a patch 0 as patch version. When I do that, other issues start showing up. Basically, there is an issue with this YAML version 2 file, saying that it basically doesn't find that YAML file and start kind of showing, finding other things. And that's basically what it triggered this kind of like stagnant dependencies, is because when I was kind of looking into this YAML version 2, that was published, I think, as far as I remember, is a Canonical package, or package kind of like created but developed by Canonical. And the last version for V2 is from November 2020. There is a newer version, which is version 3. Yeah, and I think that was the last version for that was published on 2022. But the main difference is that the version that we're using so far, this YAML v2, it has an Apache license, but YAML v3 has a combination of Apache and I think it was MIT license. Give me just one sec to confirm that part. So yeah, MIT license. So it has a combination of both. So what is our kind of like policy about these kind of dependencies? Should we just move to this newer v3 that is not like a pure Apache license, or how do we treat our dependencies on this case from the license perspective?
Yeah, we've never really, really good question. We've never really had a hard policy on that. I mean, the MIT license is reasonable, so I don't know. It's how to document that, so anyone pulling in our software would know about that dependency, but that's arguably their problem, I would think. What do people think? Can someone remind me? It's been a while since I've looked at the MIT license. I interpreted it, my recollection is that it's on par with Apache 2.0. Might have even been the original model for it.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but I think they're quite similar. But looking at the repo itself and the license specifically, it says that it started with MIT, and then the remaining files after some point in time, after 2011, are Apache license. So I'm not sure exactly when that changed, but the license file itself is from 6 years ago. So I guess we're already using.
Based on what I was seeing on V3, so V2 was Apache, and then in V3 it also added MIT license because of 2 or 3 files that were ported from some kind of like C library into the Go library. So that's kind of the reason why this MIT was added later. But I don't know what I mean, I would like to get some kind of insight on what are the implications of this, because this is a specific case, right? So, but we have multiple things because, for example, the SCTP library we're using also hasn't moved in a while. So we may need to either find a newer library or what to do. But there's a few examples about this. And the main thing is how we're gonna deal with these kind of situations. That's what I'm trying to have some clarity on this.
So can I suggest maybe writing something up, just a paragraph on the question or concern. LF has a lot of expertise in this, and so I think we can get a good answer. We just need to articulate the question for them.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We can ask LF for their input on this. I suspect it's not really an issue as long as it's documented, but
Yeah, I think so too. But this is their wheelhouse, and so we might as well use them
Yeah.
for this.
Absolutely. So to try to put it into a sentence, Gabriel, we have a dependency on software that has a mix of Apache and MIT licensing on it.
No. So this V2 is just Apache, right?
Yeah, but if we jump to V3, which is what it sounds like you want to do.
Yes.
So the LF doesn't care where we came from. What the clarity we need is if we were to move to V3, which we would like to do, how do we deal with the mix of MIT and Apache licenses?
Right.
Okay.
Well, probably for me, my clarity I would like to, it's more in general. So, dependencies are going to be multiple dependencies that need to kind of keep moving because, again, this is just one specific example. So how are we going to deal with, in general, any other package, or what do we need to take care of or be aware of license perspective, any license that is not Apache? How do we want to, how should we move forward on that? What kind of license we are trying to kind of be far away and not touching, and which license besides Apache will be fine to use modules.
Yeah, but I agree. We want to ask this in the general way. We have a specific example, but I don't know that we can generalize it to the extent of having an answer for any possible license.
Okay.
I just would imagine that is still license dependent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I will note that as an action item for myself. I'll probably see you too, Gabriel, just to make sure that we get the specifics right on this example.
Sure, thanks.
Okay. Okay, next point is something about web console for 4G.
Yes, so one of my colleagues, Dario, opened a PR on the web console to clean up some things. So subscribers were created in 5G, in memory, and also in the database, but it was only using the memory representation. So if web console restarted for any reason, there could be a discrepancy between subscribers that were populated and what was seen by web console. And with 4G, the 4G implementation only put in the subscribers in memory, and he's been cleaning that up, but didn't want to break 4G, so he did a more complex implementation where there's a new interface between how you write subscribers in web console and the rest of the code. So in 4G, it's completely in memory to be completely backwards compatible, and in 5G, it uses the database only. But I feel like this is a bit more complex, and we should probably just go with directly the database and drop 4G support because I'm not even sure this will impact 4G if we go to the database because there will also be a database, I think, in 4G. But we already discussed that we wanted to not support 4G going forward. So I asked Gabriel and AJ on their opinion on that, but I would like to see if anyone has any opinion on if we want to make sure that we're backwards compatible with 4G or we we want to drop support.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have opted for not supporting 4G, so I wouldn't be inclined. So the question is, do we need to be backward compatible with 4G? And the answer, I think, is that is not. Is that the answer you got from them?
Oh, sorry, was there a question for me?
Well, I was wondering what you said you asked AJ and Gabriel. Is that the same answer you got from them?
Well, from Gabriel, I got an answer, and he also thinks we could drop it, from what I understood. But I don't think AJ got a chance to see that.
Yeah. Anyone else want to weigh in?
Yeah, probably the most appropriate person to gonna firmly indicate is Ajay will be because he is familiar with the 4G implementation, but overall, again, we have indicated that the 4G is not supported anymore, so there's not, from that perspective, there is not much of a reason to kind of have it back compatible, right, with 4G. But since Ajay should be familiar with the 4G deployment, probably would be good to also get his input.
Yeah, I think I just to get his input on that. I know that he has, even though we are not officially supporting 4G, he has at times continued to add to 4G. So it would be good to get his input on that.
Yes, we have been accepting PRs for the 4G, but there is no that we are actually releasing new images or doing something or
Right.
Helm charts on that side, right? So, but yeah.
Yeah, good distinction.
All right. So yeah, I'll wait for AJ's input on that one before we change things, but we'll trend toward dropping support for 4G unless AJ has a different opinion, and we'll discuss more at that point.
Yeah, and as you said, you don't even know for sure that this would affect 4G. It would still work as it had before.
Yeah, it's possible that it would still work with the database changes. It's just that right now I don't really have a problem with the code. It's more complex. It's more complex, and it will be more difficult to maintain going forward if we go that route. But
Yeah,
if it's for something we don't want to support, then it doesn't make sense to do that trade-off.
Got it. Thank you. Anything else on the core?
Yeah, so just one thing that is related to the core, but at the same time is related to the kind of GitHub Actions or the infrastructure side. So the canonical team has 2 PRs open that are directed not to the main branch, but to one of the release branches. So at the moment, we have been primarily receiving or making kind of improvements towards the main branch. And for this release branch, if we know that those are valid PRs, but basically we need to kind of force to merge those PRs, or we need to basically update the GitHub Actions to also validate or run the GitHub actions, not just for the main branch, but also for these release branches. And that's something that we don't have at the moment. Do we have any update about the consolidation of the GitHub Actions that Eric was working on, or any update? Because that will make things simpler actually for us to have that completed.
Well, I'm looking at Eric's notes right now. He has not said anything about the GitHub Actions. Oh, wait a second. So you can look in Slack and see it. I'll cut it and paste it and add it here. Outside. Well, I would say that what the bottom line is, he has a work in progress. And he will push his code later so people can take a look at it and provide feedback. So it's in progress, but not done.
Okay. So Is it okay if I just kind of force merging those PRs? Should I wait for Eric to be ready or?
I think you should take that up with him. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to read this.
Okay. What do you think, Gisela, on this side? I mean, from the core network perspective. Any thoughts on this?
It really depends. So that's on for the 1.5 releases, right?
That's correct. Yeah, those are the two PRs that Wilson has opened. It's quite some time. I mean, she opened those PRs probably like 2 months ago, and that's why I don't want to keep them open. I confirmed with her this morning that those are still valid. So
yeah, let me go back to my team, because the reason we wanted to backport some fixes to 1.5 is we were thinking about launching a stable release of Charmed Eater SD Core based on 1.5, but we've since made a lot of new changes, and we've not yet released 1.5, and we might just drop it. So let me go back to my team and check that, and if that's if we don't plan to release 1.5 as a stable release, we can drop those and just
yeah,
use
just
the new
if
releases.
they are not, if they are not valid anymore, just ask Wilson to close them. If
Yep.
you guys think that it's not we shouldn't merge them. If you need to merge them, I can, as I mentioned to Bruce Lomond this morning, it says I can force, remove the branch protection and force the merge. So because nobody else is going to use it besides you guys, I believe. So,
Yeah, I'll check with my team and make sure that they're closed if they're not needed anymore.
sure, thank you.
Okay, thanks. I just added to the notes Eric's updates that he posted in Slack so that we have them here in the minutes. One for GitHub Actions and one for the images. All right, anything else on core?
No, nothing else on the core, I believe. No progress on the release 18 this week. It was previously some other stuff.
Okay. I don't believe we have anyone from the RAN team here. Oh, there's Wushang. Yeah, Wushang, is there anything to say on RAN?
Hello. Hey, sorry, recently I could not join here. So, for SD-WAN, well, like Dennis announced that, well, 1.5 release was already there. So hopefully there should be some feedback from the Slack channel. And also, the engineering team is preparing the next webinar happening next week. Next week. So we are recording some demo video and then create some slide to show that in the webinar time. And other than that, engineering team, everybody is really busy for it. So I hold off the 1.6 planning, but after that, we start this 1.6 planning again and finalize all the work items for 1.6 next week, I believe, right after the webinar event. So major item was actually updating the ONOS API to work with the latest Go and some other modules version. We need to make sure that everything is up to date, because otherwise the dependable will raise a lot of errors there, issues there. So we would like to upgrade it. That is the first part. And second part is we would like to integrate the OAI 5G RAN stack. So those are the two major part, and of course all other work items we have to solve or improve the SD-RAN project for 1.6, but everything is on the table, but not selected yet. So I will finalize it. We will finalize it next week, and then we will announce it to at least probably 2 weeks later as a draft. And then after got some feedback, I will finalize it. So that is the plan. And two more thing I would like to update here. So the first one is actually, like I mentioned really before, our SD-RAN 4G hardware documentation was quite out of date. And by following that document, actually, OAI user plane didn't work really well. So yesterday night, engineering team and I had a debugging session for several hours, and then finally we made it work. So engineering team is actually updating the hardware documentation. So it will be updated in the 1.5 release documentation. So it will be a hot fix for the hardware installation. And second one I would like to update is the engineering team proceeded the conference paper this month. And as far as I heard, well, they got the best paper award in Korean community, Korean conference. So I would like to mention it as well.
Okay,
So that will be,
congratulations, that's great. Can we get a link to that paper so we can
yeah,
put it here?
so, but actually that is written in Korean, so I'm not
Ah.
sure if it is valuable or not, but at least I would like to ask them to update the research page to announce it in Ether wiki page.
Good, thanks. All right, anything else?
I think that's all from my side. And other than that, Gabriel uh, is testing our SD-RAN league, I believe 1.5 with SRS LTE, but seems like the current rig is not supporting the SRS LTE because currently our SD-RAN rig is using the E2AP update connection update message, but seems like SRS LTE doesn't support it yet. So, well, normally I need to check why E2T sends out that update message to the RAN node. But if it's not supported, then probably SRS LTE will not be working with E2T. So probably, yeah, there should be some issues in rig. Probably it's not following the standard because SRS LTE is at least working with ORAN rig at this time. So I need to double check why E2T is sending out that updated message to the rig RAN node. And if it's unnecessary, then I will change the procedure for the E2AP connection. So that is one thing I would like to mention as well for Gabriel.
Yeah, thanks, Wujun. Just kind of one clarification. It's not SRS LTE where I'm using. I'm using SRS RAN, which is basically the 5G
sorry.
equivalent of that.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
just to clarify, so we
Yeah,
are
yeah,
looking at the
language thing.
correct
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, right.
And actually I have a question aligned to what you mentioned about the OAI.
Mhm.
Because it's for now, we as Ether, we have an internal OAI repository where,
Mhm.
the E2 agent was implemented there.
Yeah.
Is there any reason that you want to kind of stick with the OAI, or why not use the SRS RAN, which already has an E2 agent embedded in there? Of course, it doesn't
Mhm.
support all the different service models. For now, I think it supports only RC and KPM model, and it supports just a limited amount of procedures, but something is already there. Instead of kind of keeping having a fork of OAI with our own implementation of the E2 agent and things like that.
Mhm. Yeah, for me actually, I don't really care what kind of RAN stack we will use with USRP as a SD-RAN RAN stack. I don't really care, but the reason why we decided to use OAI is because comparing with SRS at that time, that was SRS LTE, but SRS LTE software license was not Apache license, but it was GPL LGPL. I forgot the name, but it was not Apache license. So as the business perspective, we could not use it. So we decided to use OAI, but now, well, it doesn't matter, right? So we can use SRS RAN as well. Well, of course, we can support both, but we may for that we may need to prioritize something, but it doesn't matter for me.
Right.
I don't care what kind of RANS tag you can use. If that RANS tag supports E2AP, then it would be wonderful. And well, if that is an open source, that would be awesome. And if you would like to add some service models, or if that RANS tag already supports service models like KPM or RC service model, that would be really good for us. But well, if not, then well, we can add it because that is mostly open source software. We can add some service models, or at least we should select the RANS tag supporting the E2AP at least. But well, that doesn't matter to me. Yeah, we can use whatever we
But
want.
just also one update on my end. I sent the SRS Run team an email today asking whether they have any plans on implementing the E2 connection update.
Mhm.
Well, the whole, the connection update acknowledgement or connection update failure, right? So
Yeah.
I hope they can say something about that, but yeah, for now,
Yeah,
I
but
just asked them whether they have any plans on that.
yeah, correct. But well, still worth checking why E2T is sending out the update message to the
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I will do.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep you in the loop in that if I hear anything back from them.
great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's all from SDRAN. That it?
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Moving on to on-ramp. Another note, just that the SRS, speaking of SRS RAN, that blueprint is not run successfully in about a week. So since the last update, something is not quite right.
Okay. Yeah. Let me either take a look at that or ask Suresh to take a closer look into that one. But everything should be working. At least we actually are using it with that blueprint. We are actually using it right now.
It might be
Primarily with
it might be the test.
say one more time. Sorry, I didn't quite
I mean,
understand.
it could be that you have implicitly made a change in the way you test it. That's possible. So that the test is what's wrong.
Okay.
Just an observation. It could be working perfectly fine for you, but the way that you test it is in the Jenkins job is what's slightly different. I have not
Okay.
looked at what's failing on it.
Yeah, so if I have some spare time today, I'm gonna take a closer look. Otherwise, I'm gonna ask Suresh to help me taking a closer
Sure,
look.
thank you. Okay, the next point, there I have
That's
seen the PR. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to kind of give a little bit background on this. So currently, and also I think Bilal is also here. Please correct me if I'm mistaken in an understanding of this side. So currently on ramp, at least when we want to use with external or physical GNODBs, what we do is, for example, if we use UE run sim, on the UE run sim side, we need to add a route to tell UE run sim how to get to the UPF entry interface, right? But that assumes that the external GNODB, in this case, the UE run sim, and the host machine where the 5GC system is running, it assumes that they are both in the same subnet. And that's why from the GNODB side, you tell it, okay, to these other IP addresses, you get through this IP address, basically to the host IP address. However, when you are multiple hops away, the default route basically is going to be the gateway from that GNODB, right? So it's not going to be the host IP address because the gateway has to go through that part. So this issue was initially reported by Joshua in the ARA team. And then we also kind of started experiencing that issue in the project that we are currently working on. So the idea that we have here is to try to address that issue. And then that's why Suresh opened these two PRs, one for the 5GC and the other one for the SRS run. So if you and Bilal can please take a closer look into this and review whether to see you are good with that or not, and then let us know any feedback. Because we would like to have these, if there is no objections, we would like to have these kind of like merge.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so you are right that there is an assumption built in that they're on the same subnet. So now you have use cases that need to go beyond that. So we'll take a look at the PRs.
Right. And these use cases is not a unique use case because again, I brought the topic of the ARA team. They are also you have a similar use case, so it's more like a little more generic than for a specific use.
Yep, thanks. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. You are right that is a limitation. Okay,
Yeah,
the
so the
third
next,
bullet, I think maybe is yours as well.
yeah, that the third one is mine. So basically, what I was doing, we probably last week or 2 weeks ago, we upgraded the Kubernetes dependencies to newer Rancher versions. The problem here, and you basically validated that all the tests were running fine and everything is running fine. The only thing is that I was trying to run some tests. I was trying to deploy the Grafana dashboards. And basically, with the version that we have right now, there was no compatible Grafana charts or monitoring charts that basically can run with that specific Kubernetes version. So I had to downgrade one minor version to be able to deploy the whole monitoring component on Aether. So I need to open one PR. So for now, at least I didn't spend that much time. I mean, also I asked Sean to kind of chime in on this to see how we can find compatible monitoring charts for this, but I wasn't that successful on that kind of like search. So for me, instead of kind of keep spending more time trying to find those compatible Helm charts for the monitoring side, so I know that just by downgrading one minor version, the current version chart that we have already on on-ramp are compatible for monitoring. So I need to open a PR for this part on on-ramp as well.
Okay, thank you.
So expect that PR probably this week.
So I'm pretty sure monitoring locks down a specific Helm chart as opposed to taking the latest from Rancher on the monitoring. So it's possible there is an upgrade, but the problem is that last time we did that, the Grafana panels that we defined didn't work, and that had to be redone. So certainly downgrading on Kubernetes is the easiest thing, but we can take a look and see if there's some alternative to that.
Yeah, at least for that, again, I spent a couple days trying to figure out what would be the more kind of like compatible Helm charts, but I couldn't find absolutely anything. So I run a few tests, and also what I'm suspecting probably pretty soon, the current version for the monitoring charts that we have in on-ramp are gonna get deprecated and probably gonna be removed. That's something that we need to kind of keep in mind. I'm gonna try to run one test using the latest set of monitoring charts to see whether everything works fine and try to use that one, because the version that we have at the moment, based on what I saw on the different Rancher monitoring repository, it looks like we're gonna get removed soon. So probably there will not gonna exist anymore those and then we're gonna face that kind of issue as well. We're
gonna face it eventually, yeah.
Yeah, but I just want to kind of give you the heads up on this. I need to. I have several changes to kind of merge into the on-ramp related to that.
Okay. Thanks. We'll watch for the PRs.
Oh, by the way, one last thing. I forgot to put it on the on-ramp. The issue that I was mentioning yesterday about the net plan and the default interface with the multipass VMs. Well, I don't think it was. Well, yeah, it was the net plan specifically. So at least I don't know whether this is kind of like a generic Ubuntu update, at least on the cloud init, how it generates the file for the net plan. But before it used to kind of name based on the interfaces, and now it's called based on just default. So when an on-ramp tries to kind of attach to the data interface specific that we're trying to use, it doesn't exist basically on the network side, because it just exists on default. It doesn't exist the specific ENS3.
So what I don't understand is how this changed given a fixed Ubuntu image. I can see if you upgraded to a different Ubuntu image, you would risk running into something like this, but I don't understand why this happened within the same image or the same release.
I suspect that is due to the update of one of the dependencies. In this case, Cloud Init is the one that kind of creates this net plan automatically. So if the way that Cloud Init changes, even though your image doesn't change, that may affect that. But you know, Gislan kind of gave me a hand yesterday on this, and kind of we find a way to go around this part. So I was able to deploy or test the on-ramp in an end-to-end environment, having these changes. So I have lots of these changes, but yeah, I don't know, Gislan, you have any insights on in Larry's
Yeah,
question
okay.
about?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the full question.
Oh yeah, no. What we were discussing yesterday about how the Cloud Init create this new file that is now called a default instead of like calling the interface itself.
Yep.
So the network doesn't exist. So Larry's question is that he doesn't understand how the image can change. I'm still using Ubuntu 22, right? So what I was saying is, in this case, Cloud Init is the one that creates this netplan YAML file. And probably that's how what it changed, and that's how now things are different. So, but at least this is something I have seen just in this multipass VM. I don't know if it is generalized for any Ubuntu machine, any Ubuntu. So
Yeah, that portion I'm not exactly sure. I know that recently the latest LTS got a patch release. So there might have been some changes in Cloud Init or NetPlan in there. It's also possible it's just the multipass images that have been changed. So I'm not exactly sure why this changed. I think the implementation that was in the Ansible playbook was a bit problematic because it depended on some details that I don't think are part of the public API. So I think it was problematic, and it's better to fix it in our code. But if it's interesting, I can try to find exactly what changed.
Yeah. So your point about the Ansible playbook being perhaps not as robust as it should be is probably makes some sense here. It's been inherited over the years. Yeah.
yeah, so I have lots of changes again related to that, and the whole with these changes, the whole end-to-end works. I tested with Ubuntu 22 and Ubuntu 24. Again, both of those cases on multipass VMs. And that's what I was wondering if somebody else has seen this issue, not in the multipass VM, but in either in other way to deploy a VM or a physical, a bare metal machine. If it is a generic issue everywhere, so I have the changes that I can commit, and we can deal with those issues.
Well, no one has spoken up of having seen this, so
yeah, because
it's possible, but yeah, it's hard to say for sure. Okay, let's ARA, if there's no update, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to say if there was.
Yeah, so unfortunately, we are still working on the proposal. I think the deadline should be this Friday. So after that, we will make more progress. Yeah.
Yep, thanks. All right, is there anything else? All right, thanks, everybody. See you next time. Bye.
Next week.
Bye, all.
Bye.